morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks Sunday stream of consciousness. How's everybody doing this morning? We're a minute-ish late. Sorry about that. We went long on the Mac and Jack show. They're having some Mac's having some technical issues over there as well because Facebook, in their infinite wisdom, has taken down the Northeast Streaming Sports page because I'm sure he committed some heinous crime over there. You can post, pretty much anything you want. Just don't, say something wrong on a sports talk show, apparently. Happened to me. They will not tell you what happens or why they did it or how you can get back on. Anyway, our prayers go out to Mac because I understand. I want to welcome everybody watching this morning on TGI Sports Talk, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X. We're also live on the Roku channel, the Northeast Streaming Roku channel, which is still up, Northeast Streaming Sports. So you can download that and watch the shows and all the other content. And this show will repeat if we stay within the 2 hours. It'll repeat. It'll repeat at midnight tonight. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. I know Ralph had a little medical thing go on yesterday, and it appears that he's okay. We're happy about that. He does some great stuff in Pittsburgh and nationwide, and specifically the sports corner that he does with Smoke and Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 on WBVP radio. Check that out. DDH, thumbs up. Quick note. I may preempt the college football huddle this week. I'm not sure yet. We got the draft coming up, so I may do a short show. I don't know. But I'll be on live with Mac and Jack as they do their draft show. Hopefully he's able to do it all through Thursday night. So I'll share to my page that show as well. I'll probably be on, I don't know, I think the draft starts at 7. We'll probably start at 6. I'll put a promo up once Mac posts one. But we'll be doing live draft coverage, and I'll share it to my page as well from wherever he's broadcasting from. And next week we'll have Tim Worley, former Georgia Bulldog and first round draft pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great running back in college and the pros, and we'll talk to Tim about his career. And we still got some music playing here, eh? And also, his post-career endeavors, which we like to do. So you join us Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern for one-on-one with Keith Engle. Oh, God. What are we going to talk about today, guys? We got, by the way, been a bad week in sports if you're a certain age. Roman Gabriel passed away yesterday. And we can talk about his legacy because I think Roman Gabriel might be a bit underrated as a quarterback historically, because he played in a different era, had some great MVP seasons in the NFL. No Super Bowls, no championships, but he passed away here yesterday, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family. We've already talked on other shows about Whitey Herzog passing away this week, and Kenny Holtzman, underrated pitcher in the 70s. Billy Martin buried him with the Yankees. Also, Carl Erskine, great Brooklyn Dodger, and a little bit with the LA Dodgers, passed away this week. And now yesterday or the day before, Dave McCarthy, young guy, 54 or 56, passed away from a cardiac event. Former Red Sox, part of that Red Sox team in 2004 that broke the curse, if it were, as it were. So we'll get it. We can talk about any of those guys. I'd love to talk about Roman Gabriel's legacy, Whitey's legacy. In baseball, we can talk about what's wrong with the Astros. Is the Yankees' strong start a bit of a smokescreen? I'm seeing a lot of the issues. They're not scoring runs when they don't hit home runs. This is a theme that has killed this team for quite a while now. I'm starting to see some of that. There's other stories in baseball we can get into. I'm just priming you, guys. I want you to continue to do what you do on Sundays. The Patriots have said they're open for business on trading the third pick in the draft. Do you think they'll do that? Dak says he has had no conversations about an extension in Dallas. Bill Belichick says people close to Bill Belichick. We could talk a lot about Belichick. The rumors are Belichick is positioning himself to coach one of three teams next year: the Giants, the Cowboys, or the Eagles. And also Bill, some talk about Bob Kraft submarining Bill Belichick with his interview during the interview process with the Falcons. So lots to talk about there. College football, college level, not a ton to talk about. We do have, can't read my own writing, but we can talk about anything you got in your mind about college football. We got the whole Wednesday show to talk that, of course. NBA playoffs, Knicks would have been impressive win yesterday with a down game from Jalen Brunson. The bench was tremendous last night. This was a good game for the Knicks to get off the snide. And I know the 76er team isn't, 100%, and Embiid isn't 100%, played gamely last night. I don't want to hear those excuses. This is an important win for the Knicks, an important series to win in this season. And the playoffs in general we can talk about. And we'll have Jim Biringer coming in to talk some NHL hockey as the Stanley Cup playoffs get underway. We'll talk about the Rangers. We'll talk about the Islanders. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Jaromir Jagr becomes the oldest guy to play professional hockey, be it in Czechoslovakia, but he played at 52. I believe Gordie Howe had the record at 48. Coyotes are moving, as we know. And can John Tortorella survive the Flyers collapse? So lots to talk about. Let's get to your good mornings and comments, guys, and we're off and running. Good morning, Dave Guyette, up there in Amsterdam, New York. Good to have you with us, Dave. Big Yankee fan. Again, I'm a little concerned. I'm seeing too many games that are lost and too many games that are won, quite frankly, by the long ball. Good morning, Kenny, up on the mountain. Good to have you with us. A little chilly here this morning. Must be a little chilly on the mountain, I'm going to say. Great night out last night, by the way. I did forget to mention today is my wedding anniversary. We're going out later for a little celebration. And we were out last night with some friends celebrating a bit as well. Had a great night over to, I don't remember where we went. Wheat Fields here in Clifton Park. Had a great time, great dinner, and lots of laughs. And, I was overserved, as usual. Good morning, Drew Ehrlich. Good to have you with us this morning. Good morning, Rick. So I guess he's talking about Mac. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why he can't broadcast from his Mac Sports page if Northeast Streaming Sports is down. But he was having some issues. You can find him. I just don't know where, Rick. And I was going to share the show while I was on it, but quite frankly, the quality of the sound was bad, and I didn't really want to share it. So hopefully they get that straightened out soon. Mac trying to catch up with me in Facebook jail. Kenny goes for different reasons than the rest of us go. Well, not. Who knows? I have no idea. When they took my page down for 6 weeks, I have no idea why they did it. And, maybe I'm biting the hand that feeds me because, again, these shows generate thousands of views once I've used Facebook and get them to the groups that I get them to every week or several times a week, obviously. But they run themselves like a freaking Nazi state. You can't even get an answer from them. Basically, yeah, we took you down. What's it to you? CA coming in under CA today. Trying to catch us off guard. Good morning, CA. A blessed Sunday to you as well. Shocked to hear he only had a little over 1.7 Ks in his career. Who's that? Who are we talking about? I guess Kenny Holtzman? No, it can't be right. I had Kenny's stuff up Friday for the MLB. I don't have his stats right in front of me, if that's who we're talking about. But Holtzman was a crafty lefty. a really talented pitcher, man. Was a key member of the A's teams in the early 70s that won 3 straight World Series, and then he got traded to Baltimore. Then Billy gets him, and Billy buried him with the Yankees. Never forget, he was well rested for Game 1 of the World Series in '76, and the Yankees had like a day to turn around to go play the powerful Big Red Machine. They probably weren't beating that team anyway, but Billy wouldn't start him. Started Doyle Alexander in Game 1. Funny we age how young gets older. Funny how we age how young gets older. Those are some interesting words of wisdom. Tim Worley. I did mention Tim Worley at the top. Rick will have Tim Worley on Friday morning with the one-on-one with Keith Engle on TGI Sports Talk. You'll be able to watch it on all of our outlets on the Northeast Streaming Sports Roku channel and YouTube. And we are live on YouTube, Northeast Streaming Sports, and Let's Talk Sports. I didn't mention either this morning. But we'll have Tim Worley on. He was a standout running back at Georgia. I believe drafted 7th in the draft by Pittsburgh. Rick's a big Bulldogs fan. Looking forward to talking to Tim. And we got some other guests coming up, too, on that show, by the way. Buddy Biancalana will be on the 3rd. Great. Listen, not the biggest baseball name. It's a great baseball name, by the way. Not the biggest name ever, but an integral part of their 85 World Series. And interesting with Whitey Herzog just passing away, how that intersects. The great Brian Holloway, who was an all-pro lineman with the Patriots in the 80s, a key factor in their drive to the Super Bowl in 86. I try not to remember that Super Bowl, but we'll have him on. Has some local ties as well. Billy Martin Jr. Should be on the 17th. Still waiting for a second confirmation there. 5:24, we'll have Kevin Mensch, former Texas Ranger. That's where he did most of his damage. He played with the Brewers a little bit, and a couple other teams. And then we have Paul Rosen on the 14th of June. We got to fill in a couple of dates there. Probably, I would expect Randy Lurch to be on the 31st or the 7th, former Phillies pitcher. And then Paul Rosen, who is a para sports, if you want to use that word, participant, has won gold medals in hockey. So they're for paraplegics, and so he'll join us, and we'll have some great conversations with him as well. And thank you to Chris F. Grave for a couple of those. Kevin mentioned Paul Rosen for sure, and we got more coming your way soon. I'll keep you informed there. They should take the NBA back to the outside courts and play street ball where it started. Unfortunately, Kenny, you can't get 20,000 people into a street, playground environment. Listen, I'm happy. Look at the NBA. I'll be very honest with you. I don't sit there and watch every regular season game because everybody's making the playoffs. You don't know who's taking a night off, but the intensity gets ratcheted up in the playoffs. And the Knicks win a game last night with Brunson playing maybe his worst game as a Knick. 8 for 26, I think he shot. But the bench went wild. McBride was awesome. Robinson was awesome. Bogdanovich finally starting to earn his stripes after the trade with Detroit. 42 bench points last night, guys. This team is playing like that. Good teams pick up their best players when they're not playing well. And Brunson's still the leader on this team, still contributed in other ways. I just love McBride has been a great revelation here in the second half of the season with all the injuries that they had to Randall and Abu Dhabi. Very happy with what the Knicks have done here. Good morning to JB at the Back It Up Binge podcast. Check out JB's stuff on X. I'm trying to remember to say X, but it seems so weird. Does everybody know what it is when I say X? I go back and say Twitter. Us old guys, man, we're so obstinate. We hate change. Congratulations, I think, on my anniversary, probably, or maybe the fact that I'm sitting up straight today because I was overserved last night. It's funny. In the old days, I'd get overserved and I might not get home till, whatever, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Now I get home at 7:30 and it's like, at 7:30 is a new 2 o'clock in the morning. But we had a lot of fun with great friends and we'll be okay. I remember many classic battles between Roman and his Rams and the Vikings. Yes, the Vikings and the Rams were really good there in the late 60s, early 70s before Gabriel got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Roman Gabriel, again, an underrated quarterback. I don't think ever got his due. Star was, still, I think when he started playing, Star was still near the top of his game, and the Packers were winning, and the Cowboys were rising, as America's team. And you still had the Browns. You had the upstart AFC or AFL at that time. But I was trying to pull up his numbers here. He did win an MVP, by the way, guys. Don't forget, in 1969, I had a team that went 11-3. I probably lost to the Vikings that year. But he was AP, UPI. That's when I had multiple votes. MVP. Played in the Pro Bowl several other years. Let's see, where's his 201 touchdowns, only 149 interceptions. When you look at quarterbacks from that era, 52% of his passes he completed and threw for 201 touchdowns and 149 interceptions. You know whose numbers those are better than? Joe Namath. And a bunch of other guys probably in the Hall of Fame from that era. So again, I think he was a very underrated quarterback. When he got traded to the Eagles, he kind of revitalized his career. He'd had a couple of down years, or at least a down year with the Rams, but he revitalized his career in '73 with a bad Eagles team too. But listen, great player, and he had the Hollywood good looks, and this is a guy that it's too bad. I would love to have interviewed him, by the way. What do we got going on here? I see Alan over here on YouTube. Good morning, Alan. Thank you for the anniversary wishes. Hopefully there'll be, 50 more. That's not our 50th wedding anniversary, but I hope there's 50 more. I'd be 114 years old, but that's okay. So we have Kenny's big news is he's got an owl family living in the backyard. What type of owl? Just I don't even know what classifications of owls there are, to be quite frank with you. I'm not a big follower of the Autobahns, but that's kind of interesting. How many? I don't even know what they lay. They lay a bunch of eggs like robins, or is it like 1 egg or 2 eggs? And I'm assuming they've hatched. So give us some information if you like, Kenny. Good morning, Billy Pulver, and thank you for the anniversary wishes. Good morning to Danny Fuller out there on the West Coast. Lakers lost. I talked about the Knicks already. Impressive win for the Knicks with Jalen Brunson not playing anywhere as close to his best. But the Lakers get swamped. Listen, they're playing Denver, and Danny, I don't think they're winning a game. They might win 1 game, but Denver is one of the most overlooked teams in the league. Jokic is the best player in the league and has been for some time, and except for LeBron, in my mind, Denver is better than the Lakers at every position. And the Lakers seem to be very happy with their midseason banner, and I guess that's what they're going to hang their hat on this year. I don't know. I watched a little of this game last night, and Jokic was just overwhelming. Do you know how to build a relationship with our feathered friends? I do not, quite frankly. I've got a woodpecker that I'd like to build a relationship with my shovel. because I hear him right now. I'm kidding. I wouldn't hit him with a shovel, but no, I don't know how to do that. CA. Oh, Drew, what do you got? Baseball news: Philly, Atlanta, the Mets all 8-2 in the last 10, playing great baseball. Good line by. I don't know if this was a real line. Travis. What the heck is the quarterback? The catcher, Atlanta catcher. He used to play with the Mets. Travis Denard. I'll say his name wrong. Help me out, Drew. Anyway, he hit 3 home runs the other night, and he said, "If I'm reading this accurately, now I didn't fact check this, that he actually said it. If he did, it's an awesome burn on Bryce Harper. He hits the 3 home runs, and after the game, he said, "I feel just like Bryce Harper." Oh, except with a World Series ring. If he said it, kudos to him. What else Drew got here for me? Let's looking back, and I know we covered a lot of this stuff Friday, but what's up? And again, it's amazing. Dodgers 12-11. I think the Dodgers will be fine. The Astros are the biggest disappointment, biggest surprise overall. Not good, a bad surprise that they're as bad as they are right now. Gosh, the only thing keeping them from being the worst team in baseball is, the White Sox and the, well, they're tied with the Marlins and the Rockies. Rockies actually are, Rockies would be below them. One of the biggest surprises in all of baseball is how bad they've played. I'm also a little concerned, as I mentioned at the top, with the Yankees. I understand they're 14-7, but I think they got away 12-7 last year, maybe 13-7. But I see the same pattern starting all over again. They don't score runs without hitting home runs. You've got to find a way to play good situational baseball, and the Yankees for years now just have not done it. Who else has surprised me? The Twins yesterday, by the way, had signs fire Rocco all over the stadium. Not off to a great start at 7-12, but Rocco Baldelli's done a really good job there. And I don't think you got to be firing him after 19 games. Who else can we talk about? The AL West, as Drew mentions here, we'll get to some more comments here in a second. Allen's probably wrapped up. Yeah, here's Allen right here. Oh, that's Oklahoma. I do have some thoughts on that. Actually, I forgot to bring that up, and I will in a second. Your Rangers, Allen, unfortunately off to an 11-11 start. They're lucky they're in the division that they're in, because I thought this would be a very strong division with the Astros, the Mariners, and the Rangers finishing third. But with the slow starts by the Mariners, who are playing better, they've won 4 in a row. The Rangers are struggling. We'll come back to baseball as needed as well. We'll bounce around any of this. So we talk about any of this stuff, the NFL, the player passings. I'd love to talk a little about Whitey Herzog's legacy. Kenny's answering to CA. We cut down about half acre of tree and left the stumps and branches to rot. This promotes a breeding ground for all types of critters. Then the bigger birds move in, I guess, because they eat the smaller critters. Thoughts on Texas and Oklahoma spring games? Listen, we know Arch Manning had a tremendous game. It was reported for Texas. I'm not sure how that's going to really affect the quarterback depth chart there. Because Quinn Ewers is going to be the starter, most likely, unless something drastic happens. But he's had an injury history as well. I don't know that much about the Oklahoma spring game. to be quite honest. Let's see if there's anything here that I can lean on. Yeah, I don't see anything. Let's look at it. We got it right here. Let's see if they talk about Oklahoma at all. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. I'm intrigued. Listen, I think that there's a very good chance Arch Manning plays a significant role on Texas this year. They want to get him in games. I mean, I don't think they can afford to start him. I read some chatter about him, maybe non-conference games, playing Arch Manning a game just so he's ready to play. Keep in mind, these teams are now going to be playing, if they win the championship, like 17 games. That's an NFL schedule now, guys. And you're probably going to need two quarterbacks a lot of the times. So the thing is, though, if you get him ready by playing him in a non-conference game and he lights it up against some nobody, I don't know that that's going to be a good thing. This isn't really news on the spring games necessarily, just some talk about Oklahoma, how they've lost their top receiver, Drake Stoops, which is a big loss for them. Jackson Arnold. We also know that Dylan Gabriel went north for $2 million. So welcome to the new NFL, Alan. You get to feel the brunt of it right away. But Jackson Arnold will be the new starting quarterback. And I guess they like some of the things they've seen at the guys they've brought in. Deion Burks from Purdue stands out. And they got Jaden Gibson returning. So we'll see how that goes. But huge game for Arch Manning. We'll see what that means for Texas. And we know Alan's an Oklahoma fan. By the way, Alan, out in Oklahoma, things are pretty good right now. Your Oklahoma Thunder, Oklahoma, or is it what is it? Oklahoma City? What are they? Yeah, the Thunder. It's Oklahoma, right? No. What the hell is the name? What the heck city do they play in? Oh God, help me out here, Alan. I know you're here. Oklahoma City, right? Why is this so hard for me? I don't think. Listen, the Celtics right now. The Celtics are the best team in basketball by far in the East. Denver, I think, still will give them if they beat up. And by the way, Knicks got to get there. This is a disappointing season for the Knicks if they don't win. If they don't get to the conference final, and assuming the Celtics take care of business, they'll be there waiting. If the Knicks don't get to Darno, thank you, by the way, Drew. I see your post there. Another game, a name that I'll say right forever and then totally just lose. So anyway, the Thunder look good in the West, but Denver's going to come out of the West. Denver's still the best team in the West. They may be the best team in basketball. Don't forget, they are the reigning champions. Celtics are better this year. Drew Holiday has added a dimension I think they needed. I thought they'd miss Marcus Smart more than they did, and they obviously didn't. We'll see in playoff time. Things get a little different come playoff time. But I'm intrigued by these NBA playoffs. I mean, there's too many games, but we'll see. I like the Knicks a lot, and I like your Thunder a lot. I mean, they got one of the most unheralded guys I can think of out there in Jagelius. I can't say his name. Jagelius Alexander. He's putting up LeBron numbers. Great player. Nobody ever heard of. Unless you're an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. Darno. It's not that hard. Why do you have to spell your name like that if it's pronounced Darno? Why can't you just spell it Darno? I'm kidding. Kenny, we get some owl. You get it all on the show. You get mainstream sports. You get conversation on cornhole. You get owls. You get darts. We got it all here. Sorry, didn't read your post. They lay eggs in March, and I think one or up to 3. Okay, I believe mine are barred owl. Is it a barred owl or a barrel owl? And I only see them at night when I go out on the deck and smoke. Smoking's bad for your lungs, you know. Oh, I forget what you're smoking. Try not to do it often because I don't want to scare them away. You know, yeah, they might be getting a little contact situation there too, Kenny. I don't know. We have a couple of woodpeckers, and they have started with the metal roof is a plum place to beat on. That's worse than a tree, man. Can't imagine what that sounds like. You know, I've said this for 3 years now. Aaron Boone, and again, his regular season record is good. 82-80 last year is a low point. They won 100 games. They haven't been to a World Series. And by the way, not just Boone, but Brian Cashman needs to go as well. We keep putting together flawed teams. And I hate to sit here and be a Yankee fan. I'm ripping on my team when they're 14-7. But I see the same problems creeping up that I've seen for the past 5 years, longer. No trips to the World Series, no holding guys accountable. I still see some bad base running. Glaber can't hit his way out of a paper bag right now. Boone's playing badly, and that's not Boone, Aaron Judge, and none of that's necessarily Boone's fault. Not going to sit Aaron Judge. Listen, I saw Soto take a horrible route on a ball yesterday as well in right field. I've heard him talk about how he's so much better defensively than we thought. I'm not seeing it. Watch the games, and it's not just the plays that you make, it's the plays you don't make. Yesterday could easily, you would, and probably nobody talked about this. I'd had the sound off on the game when this play happened, but he took maybe they were talking about it during the broadcast, but he takes a horrible route to the ball, and it goes over his head for a double, and I think it was the second Tampa Bay run. And he's hit the ball really well, but the problem is they don't win unless he's hitting a home run. Or, there's no small ball again. Oh, just noise. Texas bunted a runner over yesterday. That was interesting to see, fun to watch. I think there's a chance. We talked about Whitey Ball a little. Whitey Herzog, the great Whitey Herzog, passed away this week. He played a brand of baseball that probably will never be played again. 67 home runs his 82 World Series team hit. 67. 67. You heard me right. Because of steroids, possibly. We've had individual players reach that number several times since 1982. But he built a team for the AstroTurf, and the game was faster. And pitching, defense, timely hitting. How many times do I talk about that stuff? He wasn't afraid to bunt and hit and run. And Tampa Bay bunts yesterday. It's a lost art. We've talked about it. Lou Piniella. I just told you. I told you Friday I'd finished reading Lou, which is Lou Piniella's autobiography. It's a great book, a wonderful book. And at the end, the epilogue is Lou's thoughts on the game today. And it was amazing to me how much he agreed with everything that I say about the way the game is played or not played. The only place I think that I disagreed with anything Lou said was, and this was before the rules changed, right, about the shift. He didn't think teams should be able to shift. And I say you stop that by just not hitting into the shift. And he said, we don't bunt. We can't bunt. It's a giving up and out. It's a great book. If you get a chance, I think I got it on Kindle for about $3, by the way. I might have had some credits, though. Anyway, yeah, it's nice to see Tampa bunt. It's nice to see anybody bunt. By the way, we should be joined by Jim Biringer at some point this morning. Last week he came in at 9:30. When Jim comes on, we'll talk about some hockey, and then we'll come back and pick up the comments wherever we left off. And you can keep leaving them. You can leave comments for Jim, obviously, and if you have comments about other stuff, we'll kind of wait until we're through with Jim. And we won't go probably more than 15 or 20 minutes with Jim today, but he's going to be in every week to catch us up, keep us up to date on the playoff chase for the chase for the Stanley Cup. He took a full swing and managed to fake everybody out. I'm not sure if that was. You were starting with Manny likely to back up. Well, we all know that, Alan. I mean, they've said as much, but Ewers with his injury history, this team's hoping to play 17 games, 16 or 17 games this year, which is more than any college team has ever played. And a guy with injury history is probably going to be injured at some point, right? And Arch, listen, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Arch Manning could overtake Ewers if he gets an opportunity and outplays him. Good morning, Steve Orpello out there in Perth, New York. Hope you're doing well. Still waiting on that secret recipe. Kidding. Alan Perales. We also have our late season cupcake. Just about every SEC team does. So that he may get the play in that. Yes. Well, if it's late season, you're probably not, unless Cam Ewers has struggled a bit. And this is where it becomes dangerous to put Arch in. And he has a huge game going into the playoff or the SEC championship game. You could end up with a controversy. I think it's more likely that they're going to give him some time during certain games, right? He'll get a series here and a series there just to keep him sharp or help keep him sharp in case Ewers goes down. Or maybe he outplays them all summer in camp and wins the job. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. Officer and Gentleman has a classic line of what comes out of Oklahoma. I don't remember the line. Can we share it here or not? I don't care if it doesn't have the C word in it, put it in. John Dick, I'm probably not going to let him put on the air. But if you want to post it, Rick, I don't remember it. Great movie. I don't remember the line about what comes out of Oklahoma, though. Arnold looked good, and Burks looked good as well. This is in the Oklahoma spring game. Listen, and we'll talk about this a lot on the Sports Huddle. And listen, we had such a great crowd. I was talking about, this is normally when I start thinking about going on hiatus after the NFL draft and whatnot with the Sports Huddle, the college football huddle. Because that's not a lot happening in the summer. So after the baseball's done and basketball's done, football spring stuff, news is out. I think we took 2 months off last year, or 6 weeks. I may not do it this year because we had such a great crowd the other night. I want to continue that. We got a great crowd in here right now, quite honestly. Where's Twitter? Twitter with another strong showing in viewership this morning. Great job. So anyway, Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, again, I understand the move from the landscape today, the financial considerations, but this is a bad move for Texas and Oklahoma. There's no two ways around it. You're not going to compete year in and year out for championships. Where the Big 12 you would. And again, this is just part of what's wrong with college football today. I mean, I don't even want to get into it right now. Yes, thank you, Alan. I did finally land on Oklahoma City. I don't know why it didn't sound right to me. But I knew it was Oklahoma City. I just couldn't get my head around it. Anyway, team's playing great basketball. We'll see how they do with their upcoming playoff matchup. And Alexander, I guess I got to say, good Chelius. I'm always saying his name wrong. The best player in the NBA that hardly anybody knows anything about. I know I don't know football, as you do, but after watching some of the Mannings play, I believe it is a tie to 3 times better than the starter. That he is. I guess that means 2 to 3 times better than the starter. Who's going to? Well, again, yeah, you're right. You had an injury issue and a little bit of, they played. I can't remember the kid Murphy. I think Malik Murphy was his name, right? He was the backup last year. He's since transferred out. And Ewers didn't play great. He was banged up at the end of the year. I think there's a possibility that Arch overtakes Cam Ewers, maybe in the spring, maybe now in the summer before season starts in August, late August or early September. So we'll see. I think it's possible. Danny Fuller doesn't want to talk about the Lakers apparently today. In hockey, the Bruins and Hurricanes headed for a meeting of the ages. I saw the Hurricane were favored in a lot of places to win the Stanley Cup. Some of the betting sites. So that'll be interesting. The Bruins are playing Toronto right now. Chris F. Grave is coming up next here. I'm worried about the next comment a little bit because I don't want to. Well, I'll talk about it when I get there. And we'll talk more about this when Jim Biringer joins us, Danny, as well. So Bruins playing great. They're playing Toronto. That's what I started to say. And the fans, interesting, chanting USA during that game. So I hope we're not at war with Canada and I missed it. Chris F. Graves, speaking of Canada, our number one fan in Canada. Happy 61st birthday to the late great Ken Caminiti. Listen, yes, happy for 61st birthday in heaven, Ken. Ken Caminiti was a fine player, tremendous defensive player. But another guy that the performance-enhancing drugs, and again, we don't know who did. And this is why I say you have to let guys in to the Hall of Fame because I don't know who did them, who didn't do them. But I think the drugs and whatnot affected Ken Caminiti. They affected him positively on the field, but I think, they didn't serve him well off the field, and why he died. Part of the reason he died an untimely, early death, unfortunately. So great player. I loved watching him play defense. Again, people get excited about home runs. I get excited about defense. Defense is something that's always excited me. And Rick better message that thing from Oklahoma. I'll take a look at that in a second, Rick. Greg Nettles in the 78 World Series. Anytime I get on a baseball site and they say, what is your favorite game of all time? And I always tell them Game 3 of the 1978 World Series, which, Danny, I think if you're old enough to remember, Danny, Dodgers up 2-0, and Greg Nettles saves about 5 runs on 3 tremendous plays. Guidry was not good, walking the ballpark, getting smacked around, always base runners on. And Nettles turned that series around all by himself, defensively. So if you don't think defense matters, go back and watch that game and tell me defense doesn't matter. It turned the whole series around. I wonder if Danny's old enough to remember that. But so Ken Caminiti was a great defensive player, became a really big force on offense, the same way a lot of guys did, unfortunately. You said too much swinging for HRs on the Yankees. If they don't hit HRs, they lose. Yeah. This has been I've seen this movie so many times, and in many years they've gotten away with it. During the regular season, right? 190 plus games, 100 games 1 year under Boone. But come playoff time, good pitching shuts you down. And if you can't find a way to manufacture runs when you're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, I mean, look at just 2 games this week. They came back and won because of the long ball in the 9th inning one night, and the middle innings, or late innings, Friday night. But home runs were definitely the key to coming back and winning those games. So I worry. I see worrisome spots here. Who's this? Who is coaching the Mohawks? The Mohawks are a college summer league. I think it's a wooden bat league, if I'm not mistaken. Rick and Kenny can correct me if it's not. Perfect pitch league here in upstate New York. They play all over the place. So once the college season's over, there'll be a lot of Major League Baseball prospects that come from these major college teams to play here and all around the capital region and further out. There's a team in Cooperstown. But is it still Griffin that's the coach of the Mohawks? And I didn't know he was coaching in college. And where is that? I'd love to know what it is, Kenny. It's a guy I might try to get on for an interview. Small ball manufacturing. This is Danny. A lost art, like pound the ball inside. It's a great point. And the games, and I know, Danny, I know we've disagreed a little bit, up till now on change and whether change is good or bad. And we got to accept change. And I can accept some change. Hear my wife laughing. She's hearing me say that. But, you watch, again, Whitey Herzog passing away this week really brings it back for me about how teams can be great, not just good, great, without hitting any home runs, basically. 67 home runs, the 82. The 82 Brewers hit. And don't tell me nobody was hitting home runs then, because the Brewers, who they played in the World Series, hit tons of home runs. And one of the reasons they didn't win that series is because they didn't hit a lot of home runs in that series. So you're right. And actually, the pounding the ball inside in basketball, the 3-point line changed that, as we know. How many true centers and power forwards that camp themselves under the basket even are there out there? Joel Embiid? Jokic doesn't do that. Jokic plays outside more than he plays inside. So who are you going to pound the ball to? And I agree that it's an interesting point, and the way games change. I get it. Football used to be ground and pound everywhere. I talked about Roman Gabriel's numbers, and you say, that's nothing great. Look at what Brady did. Look what Manning did. Look what Breeze did. Look what Marino did. We play in a different time. I would say Roman Gabriel was as good as a lot of guys who are in the Hall of Fame today. But you look at his numbers, the way the game's played today, it looks like pretty pedestrian. Sorry about the owls and birds stuff, but this is my only contact with the outside world. Kenny, this is a stream of consciousness show, so birds are welcome. We won't spend 2 hours on them, but let me take a quick look at what Rick put up here. Oh yeah, I guess I won't put that up. Thank you, Rick. No, I'm not going to put that up. I'm sorry. Kenny Gifford, great manager of young men in college and the Mohawks. Where? It's I can't remember his last name, Griffin. I want to say Keith Griffin. I know that's not it. I'm sure that's not it. It could be. But where's he coaching in college? I'd like to know that, and I want to maybe get him. I might think about getting him in for an interview. Interesting run differentials in Major League Baseball so far. At this point in the season, plus 48 is pretty impressive for Cleveland, who's playing a bit of small ball, right? I mean, they got a lot of guys. Let me pull up Cleveland real quick. Cleveland, by the way, leading the Central, and the Central is a little better than we thought it would be, with the Royals playing well, Guardians playing better than I thought. The Tigers not playing quite as well as I thought, but the Royals and Guardians both plus 48. I'm guessing they played a lot of games against the White Sox who are minus 65. That's very hard to get to minus 65, for sure. And Milwaukee actually is impressive as well, because hitting and scoring runs was one of their big issues. They're scoring runs better. It's going to be a matter maybe of their pitching holding up, because I had picked them to finish last in the Central. Arizona at plus 26, only 10-12. That is hard to do. But again, remember, Arizona made it to the playoffs last year, getting outscored, which is hard to do as well. So depending on, especially this early, and I'd have to look at their whole schedule. I'm assuming that in a couple of their wins, they get some 10 or 12 run victories in there. I did. Thank you for that, Rick. It's a funny line. Funny's funny. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't think funny's funny. I see it differently. Texas and Oklahoma will compete with the big boys of the SEC. Considering Bama will take a step back, assuming, I wouldn't say considering, assuming they do. We don't know that they're going to take a step back. Kellen DeBoer's a really good coach, right? Won at Division II, went to Fresno State, won there. I get that's not a major conference in a lot of people's minds, but I think it's a pretty good football conference, the Mountain West. Then he went to Washington and turned that program around. So again, I wouldn't dismiss Alabama just yet. So Georgia's the only true powerhouse. Well, again, it's a much deeper league in my mind than the Big 12 quality-wise. You didn't mention Ole Miss, who's not a traditional powerhouse, but Lane Kiffin has built a really good team. They've built a team that is very experienced coming back this year. He's the king of the transfer portal, and he's got some really good guys coming in from that avenue. And they're a team that finished 10 or 11 in the country last year, and they would have been in a 12-team playoff last year. And they're likely to be there this year. So, again, maybe they'll do better than I think. I'm saying it's a lot different in the SEC, and I hate to feed into my SEC elitist crowd, but it's a lot different playing in the SEC than it is the Big 12. It just is. Plus, you got more travel, which you have to admit that has an impact on these kids. has an impact on anybody. Why does my glasses look crooked? What the hell's going on here? Anybody tell? Maybe it's my head. Oh, what do you got here? Here we are on the Owls again. CA says that's a good start. Cover up my face with all this owl talk. That's a good start. You can continue bonding with nature. It rewards us. We may not have some of what we do. We may not see some of what we do. However, our legacies are promised the opportunities to continue in a natural order, ending on funny yet sad, really. Chick-fil-A is off the list. Even if they still offer chicken that's not bioengineered, we choose to support and harm ourselves and life on the planet. Well, we're truly the stream of consciousness, and CA is... we can agree to disagree on some stuff. Some of that I can agree with, some I just can't. Good morning to John Gonzalez, one of our favorite admins, actually our favorite admin over there at Sports Authorities. Greg Rawlings is a close second at baseball, America's favorite pastime. And I really enjoy having him in. So let me just look here quick because we're going to bring in Jim Biringer. I see him in the green room. I want to get through a couple things because there's a couple of good mornings in here. Danny Fuller remembers the Stankies. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. In 78 and the Dodgers in 81 winning in 6. Well, I prefer to win 77 and 78. And my question was about Nettles turning around the series with defense. So just saying. Top 3 MLBs and HRs. I'll come back to that, and we'll get to that when I come back. And then good morning to Paul Spada. Good to have you with us. And we'll talk more. Again, as I said, we're going to get to some NHL talk with Jim for a few minutes, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, 15 minutes, whatever he's got to bring us. I don't want to hold him up at all, and we'll get back to your comments, as I did last week, and we'll go from there. With that, let me bring in the aforementioned Jim Biringer from FullPressHockey.com and whatever. What else? I mean, you're getting to be like Apollo Creed here. I got to have too many monikers for you.
I know, right? Catch me, NHLRumors.com. Always with the boys here with you guys on, TGI Sports Talk. All the guys everywhere, Sports Authorities. Those guys kill work. Real to Sports, my boys over there too. Shout out to them. Just putting in the work, grinding. If you guys didn't check it out, Rob Peterson show this past week. We teed it up, talked some hockey there too. So always a fun time.
Yeah, well, that's good. A lot of stuff, man. You're the hardest working guy in the industry here lately. So good job there. We're getting to I'm sure your favorite part of the calendar and a lot of people's from a hockey standpoint with the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. We had one comment we were talking about earlier with a potential Carolina-Boston matchup. It's also teams got to win their first round matchups. But I saw in a lot of the betting sites that the Hurricanes are a favorite to win in a lot of sports books to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, Carolina's a very deep team. Every year it feels like everybody's picking the Hurricanes. They haven't really won the Stanley Cup since 2006. By the way, that's the last time they've been to the Stanley Cup final. They had that little run early, like in the early 2000s after they moved from Hartford. They got to Cup final 2002, lost to Detroit. Then they win 06, so, and then they've always kind of just fell short in a conference final every time they've gotten there. And the last time they got there last year, they lost to Florida. But the time before that, they lost to Boston. And look, they're a deeper team this year. They're a better team this year because of the addition of Jake Getzel, because of the addition of Evgeny Kuznetsov. You have Freddie Anderson back. You saw what they did in Game 1 against the Islanders. They could play good defense. Though I will say the Islanders played a really good Game 1 and probably should have won the game, hit some posts. Thought they outplayed Carolina at times. But again, here's the thing for the Islanders. Got to stay out of the penalty box. Got to keep things 5-on-5. Or else Carolina's going to burn you because they're going to get outshot. And Carolina outshot them in the second period. it was just because Varlamov played really well in that defense. And the Islanders give the Canes fits a little bit because their offense doesn't explode as we think it should. However, the House of Horrors that is PNC Arena for, the Islanders is a problem. So they're going to have to figure out a way to win there.
And the Bruins off to a nice start beating Toronto. What was up with the USA chants during that game?
I have no idea. Boston fans, they're a little weird up there. I mean, the problem is Austin Matthews, their best players from the United States. I think half their roster's from Canada. That's why, but it just doesn't make any sense because it should just be, Leaf suck or whatever you want to say because that's what they normally say up there anyway. But look, Toronto's got a mental problem with the Boston Bruins. This is like it. And I know most of these players weren't there in 2013 when they lost a Game 7. They were up 4-1, all that stuff. But you had chances to beat Boston. You didn't do it. You did it. Tried to do it at 18, didn't do it. Did 19, didn't do it. Like, it's starting to get to a point where it's like, okay, one of these guys is going to step up. Boston's the Leafs. Think about this: this original 6 franchise. Toronto Maple Leafs have not beat the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup playoffs since 1959.
Wow.
Like
they're both six, right?
It's both original 6. But the thing is, it's a matchup thing, right? For years, we said Boston could beat Montreal. Boston could beat Montreal. Boston could beat, and they finally did, and they've been able to turn the tide a little bit when they play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the Leafs just don't show up when it matters. Like, I hate that. This is the big thing for Toronto. I know everybody's like, oh, this is the year Toronto can beat Boston. Prove it to me. Until they prove otherwise, they can't. They just got shellacked 5-1 again. Now, let's be honest, they lost 7-3 to Tampa last year. And they have a history of no showing in Game 1, and then they come back in Game 2 and play well. However, this group needs something. Their goaltending isn't as good. We know Jeremy Swayman is as good as he is. And shout out to, look, never like to critique guys on national television. It's a hard job. But Brian Boucher, that means you weren't paying attention to the Boston Bruins all year long because Jeremy Swayman was the number 1 goaltender in Boston. And everybody knew it. And everybody who watched the Boston Bruins knew it. Everybody who covered the Boston Bruins knew it. There was no surprise that they were going to Jeremy Swayman in Game 1. He is the number 1 goaltender in Boston. He is the future in Boston because there's a reason why Linus Ullmark said he wasn't getting traded at the deadline. He wants to win with this team because he knows he's leaving in the offseason. He knows he's getting traded.
Do you see any chance maybe Nylander gets healthy and the Toronto will they make a series or are they just going to walk out of it?
I mean, if this is a 5-game series, it's very disappointing for a Maple Leafs team that played really well down the stretch. But the problem is their goaltending. They don't have their goaltending isn't as good as Boston's. Their defense isn't as good as Boston's. Their offense is there, but Nylander's hurt. They got to mix some things up. They got to make changes. Boston, for some reason, Boston's just in their head, so they got to figure it out.
What other? I thought in the East we got some interesting series with Tampa Bay and Florida playing in the first round. Rangers and the Capitals. I mean, what series are you most looking forward to here?
In the East, just in the East.
Yeah, in the East for now.
Probably Tampa and Florida. Just the Battle of Florida is always fun. Last 2 times these teams met, we had Tampa Bay winning both series. One went 6, one was a sweep. But again, Florida's a different team than they were when they lost those 2 series to Tampa. But Tampa's still pretty much the same team, missing a couple of guys.
Yeah.
But again, I know the betting odds have Florida the favorite. I would have Tampa the favorite, to be honest. The Vasilevsky winning pedigree. This is a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. And to me, like for Toronto and Boston, Game 1 is crucial for Florida because they can't allow Tampa to play their game in Florida. Yeah, it could be a shootout. It could be whatever. But you have to take Game 1 or else that means you've lost 7 straight games to the Lightning in the playoffs, dating back to, when they first met in 2001. So, because the last series was a sweep and now, they lost the final 2. So that's something you need to watch for. Now, we know Bobrovsky can match Vasilevsky, But again, Florida's got to stay out of penalty box. They gotta not allow Tampa's power play to get going. And look, Florida has the firepower to match it, but let's see. Did they finally hit that wall? Can they go back to back? They have the team to do it, but again, it's hard to do it 2 years in a row. That's why we don't see teams go to the final like every year. It's very hard.
It is a bad matchup, I think, for Florida, and I don't think anybody really would want to play Tampa in the first round because they don't lose in the first round. So,
well, I mean, outside of last year, but I mean that was because they ran out of gas. Like, let's be honest. But if you go back to last year's series, right? If you go back to last year's series against Toronto, they were the better team. Just Toronto got the bounces, and that's usually what happens. Like, they were the better team if you think about it.
Agreed. Out west, I find the Winnipeg Colorado matchup to be pretty intriguing from my standpoint. The Avs are a little bit banged up coming into this series. Do you think the Winnipeg will have a chance to upset them here?
I wouldn't call it an upset because I don't really see Colorado as a favorite as much as the books have them as a favorite to come out of the West and a Stanley Cup favorite. I just want to know, like, what are they watching that I'm not, because I'm not sold on Georgiev. They haven't injured. Jonathan Drouin should win comeback player of the year if there was one in the National Hockey League, and he's out the first round series. He was a critical part to that top line. He's not there. We need to see more from Casey Middlestad. You know, Arturi Lekkonen's great. We always see him show up in the playoffs. Nichushkin. They have Cale Makar, Devon Toews, Sean. But again, they're goaltending. Do I trust Alexander Georgiev to get the job done against Connor Hellebuck? No. I think the Winnipeg Jets are a deeper team. And not for nothing, they beat Edmonton with nobody in the final game of the year. But they got shellacked by Edmonton 7-0. They gave up 6 to Dallas. They lost 7-0 to Winnipeg on home ice. I'm just not sure about this Colorado team. They remind me of those Penguins teams after they won the Cup where they're trying to outscore their defensive problems and their goaltending issues. Winnipeg's a deep team. There's a belief in Winnipeg. They're a motivated group, considering how they lost last year to Vegas in 5 games where they really didn't put much up of a fight, and they know they're a better team. I expect them to come out and really play hard against Colorado, and I definitely can see Winnipeg winning this series. I really think the Jets are the better team.
And staying in Canada for a second, Edmonton, obviously we all know had a great streak in the middle of the season. Didn't really play that great the last month of the season, and the momentum is maybe not what they'd like. Did they peak too early, or is this team a real threat?
I mean, I think Edmonton's a threat to go deep in the playoffs just because of what they have on their team now. You have Corey Perry there, the Worm. We know what he can do when he's on teams. They always seem to go to a Stanley Cup final. Adam Henrique scored big goals in a playoff. Sam Carrick, they're deeper than they were. It's just not the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl show. It's not just about their power play. But again, does it come down to Stuart Skinner? And I think it does. I mean, giving up 7 goals in the final game of a regular season in a meaningless game, should it matter? But it does matter to a goalie Skyke. You're not really want to give up 7 goals because, that's the issue. I mean, look, LA's going to be a motivated team. They've lost the previous 2 series to Edmonton. They've had leads in those series against Edmonton. They've been up in those series against Edmonton. They got to figure out a way to close it out because you can't keep the Oilers around. And if you do, you're going to pay the price. And, again, goaltending is a big thing for this series. We know what Philip Deneau and Anze Kopitar can do. They can shut down players, but does LA have enough to match Edmonton? It would be a very disappointing season for the way Edmonton played in the middle of the year after the coach got fired. Yep. You make that run to get back into it, not to go deep in the playoffs with the moves that you made. It would be disappointing, but again, it's all about matchups, right? And, again, a lot of hope in Canada, mostly out west because of Winnipeg, because of Edmonton, because of Vancouver.
If I said to you, I need a mortal lock in the East and a mortal lock in the West to get out of this first round, who would you pick?
A lock to get out of the boat. I mean,
both.
The West is tough because there's so many good. Like Vegas plays Dallas. Like everybody's got like Dallas as a Stanley Cup favorite. I'm like, that's the worst matchup you could have because they're all getting healthy, right? At Vegas, everybody's back now. Mark Stone's back. Petrangelo's back. the whole team's back. You know, they have that stymied defense that they're tough to play against, right? They're physical, they're nasty, they protect their goaltender. I mean, Dallas has got a nice couple of young players there, Wyatt Johnson, Stankoven, you know, the list goes on, Rupe Hintz, Robertson, all those guys. They have the goaltending to match it. They have the better goaltender. Tanev's there, but to me, that's a tough series to pick. You know, I would think Vancouver should beat Nashville, but that's not a given either because of the way Nashville played coming down the stretch. But again, you know, did they peak too soon? Are they going to run out of steam? Look, I mean, you never can say anything is a lock. I would say 90% the Rangers should beat Washington, and it shouldn't be close.
Okay, that would have been one of my picks. Yes, for sure.
I mean, I think it wouldn't be close. I think it should be a 5-game series, but I think Washington's going to make it 6 because they can.
Who would you have us keep an eye on that we would not maybe expect to get out of this first round but they might?
They might get out of the first round. I mean, look, I mentioned it before. I mean, the Islanders can keep things close with Carolina. They could pull upset. Like if they can if they played like they did in game 1
mm-hmm.
and they get the bounces, look, they're going to get outshot. It might be like 2001 against Pittsburgh, but they could figure out a way. Look, you stay out west for a second, right? And Vancouver, Nashville should be fun, right? 2 good goaltenders, Demko and Saros. They're going to match up really, really well. Both teams we know what Vancouver is. A lot of expectations now. You're in the playoffs. Even though neither team, there were a lot of expectations this year to make the playoffs. You know, talking with Barry Trotz in the summer, he said it was going to be a fun year in Nashville. No one expected playoffs, but they were going to be changing. A lot of character guys in the room. Ryan O'Reilly's been here before. Luke Schen's been here before. Ryan McDonough's been here before. You know, Phillips Forsberg's been to that cup final. Like, a lot of guys have been here. They know what it takes. So, I mean, could they upset Vancouver? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, the Canucks are the better team. But, again, anything can happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. As much as some people don't like to use that phrase,
yeah,
truly anything can happen because I've seen it.
What else would you have us look for here in this first round that we may not have top of mind?
I mean, just watch like how teams, you know, just try to break out of the zone because puck control is key. Especially you look at that Islanders series, right? First goal, you lose a faceoff, you had control, and then you can't get the puck out, right? Like just little details of the game, those 2-on-1s, those breakdowns that can lead to goals. I mean, goaltending is huge. Stops early, right? I mean, you know, like you saw it yesterday, Boston and Toronto. Swayman comes up huge saves early in each of the periods, outside of period 3 where the Leafs score. But other than that, they shut them down and after that, Boston scores some goals. So key saves on one end lead to goals on the other. It always happens.
Before I get to some questions, I got a couple questions for you, or some comments, a couple questions for you outside of the Stanley Cup. The Flyers had a huge collapse to fall out of playoff position. Is John Tortorelli safe?
Nah, he's fine. John Tortorella's fine. They're going to keep him. Look, again, you got to go to expectations, right? And expectations where this Flyers team really wasn't a playoff team, right? Yeah. No one expected him to be in the playoffs. Did people expect them to hang on? Yeah, I guess. But everybody expected the collapse to come and then fall out. And it came at the worst time. But everybody hit a wall. Like Carter Hart's not there, right? So Urson's got to do more. Sean Walker's in Colorado. So that's a defense pair. There were injuries. You know, there were things. They just hit a wall. And that's what happened. But again, the expectations. Look at the expectations of a team. And then, okay, they just fell short. I mean, look, they didn't fall short because were they really a playoff team this year? No, I think the biggest disappointment, and I said this the other day, you know, everybody talks about Pittsburgh, they should have been a playoff team. I didn't have them as a playoff team. You know, what Crosby did to get them back into it was great, but it was a little bit too little, too late. The mentality wasn't there from the start or halfway point. I think the biggest disappointment should be Detroit. I mean, they were right there the whole year. Then you lose Larkin. Go on a 7-game losing streak. You're fighting. You let teams back in it. and you just come up short. And I think that was the biggest issue, is you just came up short. And I think even though Steve Yzerman didn't do anything at the deadline, maybe he didn't think his team was ready, but they were there the whole year, and they just come up a point short.
We get to a couple of comments here. Danny Fuller, he's out there in L.A. He thinks Edmonton versus the Kings series will be a great one. Third time is a charm. Again, they both got to get there. So,
well, no, they play each other in the first round series for the third straight year.
Yeah,
right. But again, you go back to Toronto and Boston. Like LA's only got one series win since like the late '80s. Like they made the miracle on Manchester happen in the early '80s. Ever since then, it's been steamrolled by Oilers outside of one series. Like for some reason, LA can't beat this team.
And you talk. Well, I asked this question one again. Let me get to Dan. I think we talked a little bit about Vegas and Dallas already. I think it'll be a good matchup.
It should be a good matchup, yeah.
As you said, probably the worst matchup Dallas
yeah.
First round, too. CA hasn't weighed in on that. Kenny's got a question. I think he's talking about your hockey team, and I believe you did okay this year, didn't you?
New Jersey Devils, they came out. I mean,
I think he's talking about your hockey team.
My team.
Your team.
My team did well this year. We always do well. We did another championship in the books. Any draft picks to play. And
did you ever play with anybody who we'll see in the NHL here someday?
I've played with guys back in the day that have already made the league, which is kind of astonishing to think.
So you could be the driving force for some of these guys making the NHL.
Exactly, willpower, baby.
And I think that's all we had here. What other thought? Just closing thoughts, stuff we haven't touched on before we.
Look, you said it. Look, there's going to be a new team in Utah. We don't know what the team name's going to be. The Coyotes are inactive. Here's the thing: this is complicated because it's a relocation expansion hybrid. Mm-hmm. The Coyotes are inactive. The franchise is inactive. So technically, there's 33 teams. But there's only 32 active teams. To make it simple, the 32 active teams include Utah, but the Coyotes are inactive. And the current owner has 5 years to get a new state-of-the-art building made so the Coyotes franchise can be reactivated. The issue is nobody likes the guy out in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to happen within 5 years. And that's the only reason he's keeping the team. And I think they're going to find ways to get partners in there to buy him out, or to make. But in order for him to keep the franchise and this to happen, he's got to be the majority owner. So if it happens, and then they say he's going to get a minority stake, so everything's hunky dory. They got to get the ownership right. They got to get the management right. They got to get the building right. Utah's going to be great. Ryan Smith, everybody up there. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see it. Obviously they have some construction to do on the Delta Center to get some unobstructed seats, put back in, make it bigger. But Utah and hockey is going to thrive. It's going to be great for the league. We're finally getting better at HRR. And when you get pushed back from the PA and it becomes about money, you knew this was going to happen. Look, even Gary Bettman said we couldn't last 5 years of playing the college facility. It's not fair to the players, not fair to the fans, not fair to the league. They really couldn't muster it. It was a very contentious press conference in Arizona. Meanwhile, this is the kind of guy you want in your league with Ryan Smith. He's just on every place. I think if the NHL had its way, they would tell Alex Morello to go take a hike and we'll go find a new owner.
I think they'll do well in Utah. They did a great job with the Jazz. Nobody thought the Jazz were going to survive in Utah back in the day, and they've done a great job with the Jazz out there. So.
And the big thing is, it's not. He just didn't talk about the hockey team. He talked about developing Salt Lake City, right? Developing the area around the arena, where players want to live. It's a real estate deal more so than a hockey deal.
Well, I think that we'll support it, and I think it'll do well, as you said. Jim, thanks for coming in today, and we'll have you in. As I said, I'll send you the link. I won't even reach out there. I'll just send you the link. If you can't come in for some reason, you don't come in, but keep us abreast of what's going on as we progress for the second season here, because it's going to go for quite a while.
It's going to go for a long time.
Yeah, it'll seem longer than what it is, but hopefully we get to hockey and feels like it flies by. So Rangers get game one today, I believe, right? 3:00.
Yeah, 3:00. Tampa, Florida kicks us off. Quadruple header today.
Yep.
Nothing but hockey. So
lots of hockey. Jim, thanks for coming in. You have a great Sunday.
You too. Always a pleasure, guys. Take care.
All right, bye-bye. The great Jim Biringer, who we have in as our hockey guru, and even some college football from time to time. But we appreciate his insights, and it's going to be an interesting. Trying to find my. Here we go. So we'll get back to your comments here. Let's see if there's anything. Crap, what I do? Any other hockey? I guess I got all the hockey stuff. Let's go back to the beginning of where we were. Not to the beginning, but where we left off. I think I left off with Drew here somewhere. Drew. We talked about the home runs. I won't cheat. I'm going to make a guess on your home run prediction. Good morning to John Gonzalez. Guys, Sports Authorities, great group. Get out there and join it. Danny Fuller remembers the Stankies in 78. You got to hang on 81. I like our record overall lifetime against the Dodgers in the World Series. I think it's pretty good. Just saying. I think we said hi to Paul Spada. Good to have you with us here today. Paul Spada, good morning. John Gonzalez talks about Harvey Wallbangers. I was talking about, small ball. Oh, Drew's question about the home runs. Let me go back to that for a second. This year, who leads in home runs? I'm going to say, I'm just going to go off I'm not going to look. I'm going to look at the teams. I won't look at the stats, I promise, Drew. So I won't be cheating. So I'm going to say, off the top of my head, the Dodgers, what did you say, 3? I'm going to say the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Blue Jays. See how I did? I don't know. I didn't even look at the stats hardly at all. So that's totally guessing. John talking about Harvey Wallbangers, the Brewers in 82, and several years after Harvey came in there and replaced Buck Rogers, I believe, if I'm correct, and turned that team into a winner. But again, the team playing small ball beats the team that was relying on home runs. Somebody puts that model in today, they might have something. Chris, Tiger Woods planning to play the PGA Championship, U.S. Open, British Open. It's Tiger time all summer long. Listen, I got to tell you, I know Tiger and his success over his career has meant a lot to the PGA Tour. Probably helped a lot of those live guys get the money they got from the Saudis because he increased the popularity of golf. I mean, again, golf would have survived without Tiger Woods. Let's be clear. There was a lot of great players. There's been a lot of great players besides Tiger Woods and before Tiger Woods, and there'll be great players after him. Today, there's great players. Tiger can't compete anymore. Tiger was terrible. He made the cut last week, which was tremendous in itself. 24th straight time, I want to say. But it was obvious his last 2 rounds. He can't physically do it unless something drastically changes. I'd be shocked if he played in all these tournaments because they come up pretty quick now too. And that's all the golf he's playing. He's not playing any other golf to hone his game. And I don't need to see him. So who's doing it? The PGA might be NBC, U.S. Open, I might think is NBC. I don't know. It was ABC, I think, is a British Open. I don't even know. But just we don't need to see Tiger when he's 10 shots behind, 15 shots behind. I don't need to see Tiger. Focus on the people that you should be focusing on. The Scotty Schefflers. I know the leaders. Once Tiger's off the course because he's playing so early, it wasn't that big a deal. Saturday it was. Friday it was. It shouldn't be Tiger all the time. That's why I'm watching on my computer where I can watch what I want, not what the network wants me to watch. Anyway. Danny, Roman Gabriel, I believe, had a record for fumbles back in the day. Did he? I thought I pulled up Roman's numbers here. I still think, again, probably not in his stats, unless it's under his rushing stats, which I'm sure are awesome, right? He's a big guy, by the way, and hard to bring down. Fumbles. He had 10. Wow. He had 105 fumbles in his career. That's a lot. He had 10 three times. 3 different years he had 10. He had 105 in his career. Again, I will have to put a little asterisk or a little comment there, too. You could do a lot more things to quarterbacks then than you can do today. I mean, you could rip a guy's freaking head off if you wanted to. So I think fumbles would be higher. So whether it was a record or not, I don't know. But 105 is a whole lot. Let me just compare that to Tom Brady. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. Let's see how many fumbles Brady had in his career. I'll bet you it's half that. Or better. So let's take a quick look. Tom Brady. And again, I'm only using Brady as a comparison because, everybody thinks he was babied. They're not going to give me. Oh, come on. Here it is. Here it is. Well, I take it back. Tom Brady fumbled 134 times in his career. Now, he played longer than Gabriel, but he had 12 fumbles, 11 fumbles, 13 fumbles, 12 fumbles. That was early in his career, by the way. It got much, much less as we went on, which is interesting because he became more of a stationary target as we went on. Anyway, back to Stephen Orpello out there in Perth. Judge couldn't hit a wiffle ball right now with his swing. The same as Rizzo. Rizzo, listen, Judge will get it together. I'm not worried about Judge even a little bit. But Rizzo, I don't know if he's got lingering effects from the concussions, post-concussion syndrome he had last year that ruined his season. Rizzo's been known to be a slow starter, though. But this team, again, these are all guys that I'm tired of the same approach, no matter what the situation is. Men at second and third and nobody out. We swing for the fences instead of just getting a base hit. And I mean, if I get a base hit, great. If I hit a home run, great. If I strike out, no big deal. That's the way the game's played today. You got to change your approach to meet the moment that you're in. I know I sound like a broken record, but God. John Gonzalez talking about Gabriel to Snow. Great connection. Again, another underrated player in Jack Snow. Because these receivers back in the day, just like the quarterbacks, they don't have these gaudy numbers, right? They weren't catching 100 and 120 passes a year, 12 and 1,300 yards receiving because the game was so different. Jack Snow, I don't think Jack Snow's in the Hall of Fame. Probably a guy who should be considered. Roman Gabriel, as I said, is a better quarterback than a lot of guys in the NFL. And I'm sorry, he's a better quarterback than Joe Namath ever was. And Joe Namath belongs in the Hall of Fame because he won the most important game in the history of football. That's it. So he should be in just for that. If you're looking at playing stats, Joe Namath's completion percentage was under 50%. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Gabriel's numbers dwarf Joe Namath. And that's just one example. I bet you I can come up with a bunch. A's are the talk of baseball. What are the A's record today? It's funny because I always joked last year. Last year, the A's they're talk of baseball because they're 8-13, which is better than we thought they'd be, I guess. The fact that they're going to Sacramento and playing in a minor league stadium is very apropos, as I said, the last couple of weeks. And it's going to be 4 to 5 years, I believe, before they're going to get to Vegas. I don't see how this team can compete in that time. And I would still say that they'll probably give the White Sox and the Marlins and the Rockies a run for the worst record in baseball. But right now, our 121 loss watch is directly on the White Sox at 3-17. That one should be an easy one to do out. Times, I can't do it. 20 games would be what? 8 times 8. I recently relied on Drew for this type of detail. 17 times 8. That's 136 losses. 100. So there, and that doesn't. I'm giving you a 2-game cushion there because I only counted 160 games. They're at 136 loss pace right now. Let's go. Break that record. Every year I do these shows and my Major League Baseball update, and I want somebody to break that 120 loss record. Maybe we'll have a couple teams make a run at it. Where are we here? CA's laughing his ass off. Hopefully the last time they allowed Shaquille to ruin play inside the paint. I would have just hacked the Shaq all the time. He couldn't make a free throw. The game has changed, and I think that's going back to Danny's comment about inside play. I would like to see a return to a little bit more normal. I guess normal. What? Normal's a relative term. Old school approach to basketball, more ball movement, less one-on-one. Even the teams that do move the ball. And I think the Knicks play a really good team sport now and again, team basketball. But there's too many times where it devolves late in the game, especially or late in the shot clock, to one-on-one play by Jalen Brunson or somebody else. And it reminds me too much of the Carmelo days. He was a black hole there. But the Knicks, I think, moved the ball pretty well. Listen, those Warrior teams, and the thing is now, ball movement can still be part of the game. It's just not going to end up in a layup or a 8-foot jumper. It's going to be to get an open 3-pointer. That's what the game is. And those great Warrior teams did that. You watch them. I would argue that they moved the ball as well as the 60 or the 70 and the 73 Knicks. And you see highlights of them. The ball movement was tremendous to get an open jump shot. There was no 3-point jumper, and it wasn't that ingrained in the game. But I would argue they move the ball as much as those Knicks teams to get an open 3-pointer, which, again, is still important. If that's going to be a weapon, then it's important that you get open 3-pointers. CA Kenny has 29 acres. It's in the Forever Wild program, so that's good. Listen, I want to protect animals, the environment. I don't want to rip down forests, and I don't need bears moving in my backyard. I want to do things within reason, because anything that's taken to the extreme, just loses me no matter what. Archer for 355 yards. That's what I was talking about earlier, Rick. He had a tremendous spring game, and I do think it's possible he wins this. So, Paul, how you doing, buddy? Did say hi. I hope you're still here. I know we jumped off to do some hockey as I said hello to you. Red Sox, Patriot fan. Red Sox have kind of reverted to, they won 2 in a row, but they're in last place and starting to show their true colors. I think the Red Sox are really going to struggle this year. Patriots coming up this week now have made it kind of clear that they're open for business to potentially trade the 3rd pick in this draft. I think there's been enough red flags thrown up around the league about Drake May that the Patriots are not a lock to either be in that 3rd pick or pick Drake May. I get the impression they're more likely to trade out of there than they are to draft Marvin Harrison, though. as it stands today. Wow. Chris is going deep into nostalgia today. Happy birthday to the late George Fletcher. He'd be 145 years old today, which would be some kind of record, I think. Played 2 games for the 1972 Brooklyn Exports. I have no idea where you came up with that one, Chris. That's a good one. We talked about that. We're into the gym stuff, which we covered. We'll get on to Anthony Price. Good morning. Good to have you with us. Our Redskins fan. Good morning to you. Sir's never required. Your lordship would be. I could show you the picture of my. You guys may not know this story, but I do own land in Scotland, and I do have a lordship. I have the declaration, the proclamation behind me on the wall. You can't see it because I have my studio up. But I am a lord in Scotland. I own a 1 foot by 1 foot plot of land. I plan on building, and I'm going to have to build really high. But anyway, you don't have to address me as your lord. I did insist on the people at work do it for a while. Then HR asked me to stop doing it. That's a joke. Anyway, good morning. Looks like New England might not draft. Yeah, that's what I was saying here. It's looking like the quarterback or a trade now. Again, I've had my doubts all along that they would do what I think they should do. And again, they make a lot more money to make these decisions than I do. One thing I'm really concerned about in New England is the fact that, we didn't hire a GM. We fired the GM / head coach, Bill Belichick. We have no GM. Jonathan Kraft is a de facto GM right now. He's got some football people that are helping him, but I'm worried this is going to turn into the Cowboys East, and I don't want to see that. We'll see. I think it's going to be a very interesting draft, because I think you're going to see some teams moving up and down the board early on, and we'll do some draft coverage. We won't do it as the host. I'll be on with Mac and Jack. Hopefully they're able to put something together, and we'll be live on Roku, but I don't know if he wants me to do it. As far as where the feed comes from, I'll be happy to do it. But and if whatever format we're in, I'll share the show to TGI Sports Talk, so you guys will see all of that. And we'll be on probably. I haven't got his promo yet, but last year we went on 6, and we went right through the end of the first round. So we'll have a busy night. Drew Ellen, that means I would have to know 3 teams. So Kenny's out. Let's see how many I got without looking. None. Milwaukee. Interesting. We talked about the fact that Milwaukee's hitting. Milwaukee's problem the last 4 or 5 years was they had great pitching, and they didn't hit enough. They didn't score enough runs. Now they're scoring runs. You saw the differential that Drew had put up. They're hitting home runs. Baltimore, I was going to say Baltimore. I didn't say Baltimore, did I? And I did get the Dodgers, so they're just out of that top 3. So anyway, good information. Good information. Drew's got it all. Could hardly hear and spots of shade to see. I review on YT later and may add comments. I could hardly hear and spots of shade to see. I don't know. You must be on the road. I'm guessing CA's on the road, so I'm not sure. He's probably talking about usually CA's got some comments about the NHL when Jim comes in, so maybe that's where he might have hit a dark spot. Coastal Alabama North is the college Griffin is coaching. Really? Let me make a note of that. What is his first name? It's not Keith Griffin, is it? What is his name? Come on, Rick, you know his first name. I really think he'd be an interesting interview. North baseball coach Griffin. I'm going to check that out. I think I'd love to have him on the one-on-one show, to be honest with you. He's done a great job here with the Mohawks. Won tons of championships in this league, and it's good baseball. Really good baseball. And I got to get up to see a game with these guys because I keep promising them, but it's hard, man. They play during the week mostly. My wife's not going to want to go. We'll see, though. Kenny says Gabriel was the protocol for today's. Probably you mean the prototype for today's quarterbacks. I would say yes, except for where we seem to be heading now, the more mobile quarterbacks, right? Gabriel could move a little bit. And I said, what was it? I looked at his fumbles. I never looked at his rushing stats. If I remember right, Roman Gabriel could well he had some mobility in the pocket, but he's a big guy too. He ran for as many as 200 yards in a season. How big was he? 6'5", 220 pounds. Tom Brady. He was Tom Brady before Tom Brady. If Roman Gabriel played in the league the last 10 years, or played his career, starting in 2000, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I think his numbers would be outstanding. Did you see LaFlop get out of the way of Joe Kick on the slide? I did see that. Again, I'd get out of Joe Kick's way too. Joe Kick is the best player in basketball that we never hardly ever talk about until it comes to playoff time. He should be the MVP again this year, I think. Although the kid from Oklahoma City might get some votes there. But playing out west, playing in Denver, which isn't a media center, kind of Jokic is he might be the best player in the game. And when he's done, he might be in the top 20 all time. And LeBron I don't know that LeBron's ever been exactly known for, his defense or willing to take a charge. I think this Laker team is done. Danny hasn't commented yet on the Lakers, but I'm not sure this Laker team. And guys, I am going to try to wrap up by 10:30 just so I can put this reshare this at midnight on the Roku channel. If it goes over 2 hours, you can't share it. That's the problem. And I don't mind going long. And we can always put other stuff on at the midnight hour because who the hell's watching it anyway? There's night owls out there. Anyway, I think the Lakers are done, and they're going to bust this team up. Bronny's not going to be in the league next year, so LeBron, who knows what he's going to do. He may come back. Maybe they run it back one more time. But to me, this team, you've seen the last couple of years what this team can do. Why would we think it's going to get significantly better? You're having to pay LeBron and Davis a lot of money. And that's why you got guys like Russell in that starting lineup who are just not championship caliber players. Keith, a one foot by 1 foot door might be a problem. I'm going to lose some weight as well, Kenny, and also probably shrink myself entirely. But I'll figure out a way. I can go 1 foot. I can make it, 6 foot high so I can get in it. This might be a problem getting, I could squeeze myself in there. What I'm going to do afterwards, I don't know. But I don't know that there's any regulations that I can't go. Once I get up in the air, I can't spread out this way. I'm not touching the land. It's been a joke for a while. Has Corey Perry put up enough numbers and gathered enough allocates to enter the Hockey Hall of Fame? Well, let's look at his numbers. That would have been a good question for Jim Biringer. We'll remember this, Chris, next week. Let's just take a look at his numbers real quick. Corey Perry. Where do I want to go? Where's the best place to go? I know they have Hockey Reference. I love the reference.com. They're the best. So let's see. Played a long time. A lot of years in Anaheim. A lot of years. He played with Dallas for a year at CA. You can give your thoughts on Corey Perry if you'd like for the 1 year he spent there. Boy, I don't know. And again, I'm not sure. He's been an all-star. Oh gosh, 8 times. He's won a Hart Trophy. I got to say, some great nicknames, by the way. Scory, Paris, the Worm. I just don't know. I don't know at wing whether he's scored enough to warrant. We'll see. Let's get Jim Biringer's opinion on this next week. He's a character. I think he'd be fun, don't you, Rick? It is Keith Griffin. How does Danny Fuller know this? Did you look up the coach at Coastal Alabama North? Danny, I can't understand how you would know this out in L.A. unless you follow the Amsterdam Mohawks here in upstate New York. You must have looked it up just now. I got to see if I can. And Rick, maybe you can help me out. If we got to get this through Spagnola, and maybe I'll have them both on. Maybe I'll get Spagnola and Griffin both on and have a one-on-one conversation with them. I think it'd be a lot of fun. How to build that type of franchise, how to keep it successful, because they've done a great job, again, on a smaller scale of running a successful amateur league. And there's some great players that come through here. So I think that'd be interesting. Here's Danny's going to speak up on the Lakers now. I think the Lakers will be lucky to win one game. Denver again will represent the West. I agree 100%. I think they'd be lucky to win one game. I said this morning on the Mac and Jack show or the Big Football show that I thought Denver may very well sweep after watching yesterday's game. And they're better everywhere on the court, except, I'll give LeBron his due. But they're better everywhere on the court elsewhere. Anthony says it looks like Arizona and the Chargers might trade down. Vikings might move up. Raiders might move up. I agree. I think this first round could be a roller coaster ride, guys. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So tune in Thursday night. Ralph Williams. We mentioned Ralph at the top of the show from RW Media. Catch him on the Sports Corner with Smoking Jim Frazier every Tuesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on WBVP radio. And you can catch Ralph on RW Media doing lots of stuff all week long. Ralph provides tons of content and does some great stuff. And Ralph had a little accident with his scooter yesterday, and he's feeling better and home from the hospital. We're happy to hear that, Ralph. Whatever recuperation is needed, please do what your doctors are asking and do well. Excuse me. Rob is well spoken and would do well with Keith on your show. I think it'd be fun. I just need a way to reach out to these guys, Rick. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Bob Scott. Bob is married to my second cousin. So maybe I'll reach out to Bob. I know he's really close with the organization, or has been. I think he still is. Maybe he can help me get some contact information there. And maybe, is Rob on Facebook, you think? I don't think Keith Griffin is. I think I've looked for him. I think I've looked for Rob, too. Or maybe I looked for the wrong Spagnola. I don't remember. I'd love to get them on. I got to know how Danny Fuller knows it's Keith Griffin. Paul doesn't like LeBron. Look, LeBron's a very polarizing guy, right? You know, he says stuff that he should probably keep quiet about, the whole China nonsense. And it's funny, early in LeBron's career, and it seems to happen, with some regularity, with guys that are around as long as LeBron. When LeBron first came in the league, I really felt LeBron was a somewhat humble guy who I like to say gets it. There's guys who get it. Derek Jeter, got it. Bernie Williams, got it. Sorry, Tom Brady got it. You guys just don't think he got it, but he got it. LeBron, I thought, got it. And then there, at some point, and it might have been, the whole the decision, right? When he was leaving Cleveland and where he was going to go, and a big deal ESPN had to make out of it. We had to have a whole TV show. That might have been the point where LeBron lost people, lost me. I don't know if I lost it there, or I know he lost a lot of people there because I thought he shouldn't leave Cleveland. He had to go to Miami to win a championship. Well, he went back to Cleveland and proved he could win with hardly anybody. Kyrie Irving was a great player at that point and played great in the playoffs. But the knock on him was when he had to go to Miami to win a championship and play with great players. LeBron's a great player. And there's a lot of people don't like him for a lot of reasons. A lot of people who watch this show don't like him. I have tried to kind of just enjoy him as a basketball player and enjoy the great player that he is, and try to ignore some of the nonsense. Now, it's even amplified more with Bronny. Kenny's giving you some best wishes there, Ralph Williams. There's more shout outs for Paul, who does. I don't dislike LeBron. I dislike some of the things LeBron does. But I don't hate him. There's very few guys I just hate. Right? Because hate's a hard word. Well, you said didn't like. You said you didn't like. So, but there are a lot of haters out there. And again, we have a tendency, and this isn't directed at you guys in any way, but the tendency is here, we build people up so we can tear them back down, right? LeBron, Tiger Woods, and believe me, they've done things to help themselves along the way. I'm not saying they haven't. Somebody else I had in mind, I can't remember who it was, but it's just kind of what we do. And sometimes it's because they've been around so much, we see their faces all the time, we get tired of it, and then we start to dislike what we see. Not to say LeBron is, I'm assuming, Paul, you mean he is one of the best. Again, we don't have to love guys to admit, that's the thing we got to remember, right? There's a distinction about whether you like somebody, dislike somebody, and where they fit in the history of their sport. LeBron's one of the best ever to play. He's top 5 for sure. He's I don't disagree with the hypocrite part, but to me, that's got nothing to do with his basketball play, right? And again, I think what we tend to do, Rick, is we will dislike somebody for some of the things they do off the court. And he has been known to flip-flop on these human rights things because, he'll take money from the Chinese, but, won't speak out about child labor and all these other things. But to me, and again, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder, right? But from watching my shows, how much I try to separate, compartmentalize the game, the player, and the sport from other nonsense. I think I do a pretty good job. And other people do as well. I mean, we go back to the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. To me, he couldn't play football. Be realistic. He could. If LeBron couldn't play basketball, he wouldn't be in the league, right? Colin Kaepernick wouldn't, if he could play football, would be in the league. The other nonsense aside, so the business has gotten ugly. Players up and move. And I don't respect some of the things that happen and some of the things that people do. They'll lose me for certain reasons, right? LeBron has never beat a woman. I mean, you can say what you want about his human rights, his political views, whatever. But who's doing more damage, him or somebody who's beating his wife, murdering people, drug addicts, threatening people with guns? That's more dangerous than LeBron's human rights record. But that stuff, if you can play, you get a pass. Right. And Kobe went through some things as well. One of the great players of all time. Off the court, and it went away. I mean, he put himself in a bad position, and I think it was in Colorado that time, right? But, I'll separate the two. He didn't do anything. He cheated on his wife, but he did not assault or sexually assault anybody. The league will be off when he retires. NBA? I don't know. There's a lot of young stars. We talked about this the other night on on one of the shows, not my shows, but a show I was guesting on, about Team USA in the Olympics this summer, and how they took LeBron and Durant and some of the older guys, and not a lot of young guys to the new faces of the league. We mentioned the kid in Oklahoma City, for instance. And the NBA needs to start promoting these guys. Who knows about this kid out in Oklahoma City? Unless you're an Oklahoma City fan, he might be the best player in the league right now. Well, not named Jokic. I don't know. His numbers are LeBron-like, vintage LeBron-like. So the team needs to, the league needs to probably promote some of these younger guys, or they may have problems when the Durants and the Currys and the LeBrons go away. We'll see. But we've had good players retire before. And Ralph gives you a big thank you, Kenny. I guess we're going to get under 2 hours. That's fine. People get so big in the public eye, they think we care about everything they believe or think. Just play the game and shut up. Well, I don't disagree. But again, Kenny, this is where, and this is now I got to go long because now I got to get on this platform. I have, and again, this is not directed specifically to you, Kenny, so please don't think it is. But we say this about athletes. We say this about actors and singers, and we don't care what they think. And every year after the Oscars, let's say, or the Emmys or the Grammys or whatever we're talking about, someone will get up there and make some political comments. And there's all these comments on Facebook saying, I don't really care what your political thoughts are on so-and-so. Well, I have to hear from them like a couple times a year. I have to hear from these people usually that are complaining every single day. I'm hit over the head with their opinions. And that's okay. I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to express their opinion, but with social media gives us a platform to express our opinions daily. And in some people's case, hourly. And again, this isn't pointed at you, Kenny. I promise you. There's other people I have in my mind that I'm thinking about. because I don't think you've ever done that. But my Facebook feed will be inundated with people ripping people about, we don't care what you have to think, shut up. But I got to listen to what you think every single day. Now, I could not be your friend, and I'm not going to do that because just because people disagree with me, I don't unfriend them. Nobody. And I rarely get into those types of conversations on social media anyway. But I find it hilarious. And I had a comment one time a few years back, and I don't know, I might have got unfriended by that person. I don't know. I said I have to listen to your rants daily or hourly. But you can't listen to so-and-so for 30 seconds on the TV, or you're all up in an uproar. Anyway, another one, however, I believe Keith just mentioned having family in Scotland. No, I had a plot of land in Scotland, a 1 by 1 foot by 1 foot plot of land. I'm a lord there. So I'll have family someday when I send the smallest people in the family over there to vacation. We do as well. Anyway, but CA does have family there in England, Wales, and Ireland, and what our family calls zones. Old Times has us more detailed in Western civilization in the Western Hemisphere, but we're never all in one place. Interesting. Because they're famous, though, their message reaches a ton of outlets and people. I get that, Paul. I do get that. I just find it ironic, right, that, and again, I do want to, this isn't all about Kenny or anybody else. I find that ironic that a lot of the people, because I see people that I barely know or don't know, comment maybe even more. I just find it ironic that they speak up, and they do reach more people. I get it. But they're basically speaking about the fact that they don't want to hear what George Clooney has to say. And I'm just throwing a name out there. But, constantly they're barraging me with what they think. Very little. I get into, you hear some of my politics sometimes creep into this show, which I try not to make a habit of or make it a big part of the show. But sometimes it's part of it just because it's hard for it not to be. But I just already have what's going on. You should have already bought jewelry for your anniversary. Yes, I did buy my wife some beautiful. What did we buy this time? I think it was another new ring. Isn't that terrible? I don't remember. I just remember paying for it. No, but I did get her a nice, a little, because our anniversary is the iron anniversary. So I bought her a new iron. No, I'm just kidding. I bought her a nice little, two people in love on a swing made out of iron. So I thought it was kind of cool. So you got something you probably didn't give two craps about right there. See, I'm doing it now too. I personally don't care about others' political thoughts till they want to express opinions. I care about what they provide between a line. I try to do the same thing, Danny. And most of my criticisms now, I think if a guy, if somehow that creeps into the clubhouse and it's affecting the team, then I might comment on that. But as far as, I really don't care. It's not like LeBron's not running for president yet. Or ever. But I should care about what those people think, not what guys in sports think. What do I care? What Charles Barkley said, I'm nobody's role model. I shouldn't be anybody's role model, and he's right. Oh, what do you got? Until the world realizes an actor or sports personality isn't anywhere near as important as a teacher. Well, they aren't. They aren't. So we will continue to be dumbasses. But if you're just talking about money, I mean, there's nobody, I don't think anybody, Kenny, is ever going to disagree that a policeman who puts his life on the line every day. We just had an instance here in Albany. We had 2 cops get killed in Western New York. These guys put their life on the line just getting out of their car in a traffic stop every day. Nobody's saying that sports players are more important than them, or teachers. Although some of the teachers should teach, what they're, they should stop and trying to indoctrinate kids and maybe teach them a little more. But teachers are certainly more important as a whole than athletes, doctors, firemen, custodians, our armed forces, all more important than sports guys. I get it. But they make the money. That's why you shouldn't care what they have to say. When it comes to, whatever. Again, I don't mean this as a political statement. My doctor, when it comes to my health, is the only person I listen to. The only person. My wife I listen to, obviously. But when it comes to what I should do, vaccinations, tests I need done, whatever, I do what he tells me to do. And if I don't trust my doctor, I find a new doctor. But I've had the same doctor for 40 years. So yes, they're more important. I could care less what, an athlete or an actor thinks about vaccinations, for instance. I don't care. I care about one person. That's my doctor. That's it. So yeah, they're obviously way more important than any athlete, but they're never, if we're comparing them because of money, they're never going to make that kind of money because nobody's watching or paying to see them. But if we're comparing who we should listen to, I only listen to my doctor when it comes to my health, for instance. If I have a fire, I want a fireman to show up. Kenny, well stated. How cute. Oh, you're talking about the irons. I'm a romantic at heart. Don't I look like a big old softie? See you later, Drew. Have a good day. We'll be off of here in a minute, guys. I will have to say, LeBron, I have seen LeBron play in person, and he's right up there with the rest of the best, I think he's talking about here, that I've ever seen. I agree. Just saw a cool meme. Send it to me, Paul. Scott Kobe. You look good for 41 years old. You look good for 41 years old. Same one for 40 years. I think I look good for 80. Problem is, I'm going to be 64. Oh, where are we here? Looks like, look, I like sports and understand they should get paid, but why not pay the real hero? I don't disagree with any of that. We're comparing apples and oranges, though. That's the problem. Should we look up to athletes the way we look up to the other people you mentioned? Absolutely not. And I don't. I don't hero worship. I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I don't hero worship Tom Brady. I was a big Derek Jeter fan. My favorite ball player of all time is Bobby Mercer. Maybe I hero worship Bobby, but he probably deserved it because never heard a bad word spoken about Bobby. But I don't. As a rule, I don't. I think you can't compare. And listen, I'm not saying they shouldn't. Our armed forces are not taken care of monetarily well enough while they're there or after they're gone or out of service. Teachers, doctors is a different story. Doctors are probably making plenty. Healthcare industry makes a ton as a rule. Not every doctor is making a lot of money. I get that. But you're right. I mean, they should be more well paid. But that doesn't mean, because I'm always, look at, if people are willing to pay you X amount of dollars, well, then you're worth it because somebody's willing to pay you. But that doesn't mean I don't think other people are worthy of higher salaries, better compensation now and, after they're done serving their time, if you will. as far as like the military goes. Just saw a cool meme about LeBron saying even in the most game sevens, and Michael saying, "What's a game seven?" I do think I've seen that before, by the way. That is a funny line, though. Very, very funny line, actually. We're having a square dance at the home. All the LTS personalities will be there. They're not old enough to get into the home, Scott. They're going to have to get a day pass. Here's my betting slip for the day. Betting tip of the day. Dallas Turner, number 8 to Atlanta. Interesting. Birthday party or housewarming party combo. What's my birthday's in August? You guys want to warm this house? Is that what you want to do? We'll go to Philadelphia when Kenny gets there. We'll warm his house. Chris Rossi was a Bobby Mercer fan as well. I loved Bobby. Bobby was my guy, man. Love Bobby. And I will have, I promise you, you guys probably don't give two craps about this, but I will have Kay Mercer on the one-on-one show at some point. It's Bobby's widow. Wonderful lady. I'd follow her on Facebook, and I actually wrote her an interesting note when Bobby passed away about how much Bobby meant to me as a kid. And even at that point in my life, I was probably in my 40s. But it's funny, for somebody that I never met, I was very affected when Bobby died, because he was in my life from when I was a little kid, and then he was on my TV in my living room every night with the Yankees when he was a broadcaster. So broke my heart when I was 15 years old and Bobby Mercer was traded away to the Giants. Ugh. Thank you, everyone out there who has served our country or will. Your service is greatly appreciated from this man in Boston. And I echo Scott's thoughts and Kenny's thoughts. There's nothing in what Kenny said I really disagree with. We really think the same thing. As far as that part of it goes, there needs to be more appreciation given there. I'm trying very hard not to get you into a bad situation, so goodbye for the day, and hope I'm not going to get into a bad situation again. I believe what I believe, and people can like it or people can not like it. That's what this country is about, right? I really didn't disagree with anything Kenny had to say from the side of, should these people be considered more important than others? Yes, they should. So I think we should meet and go to a game somewhere. Absolutely, Paul. Got to get to a Patriot game. We haven't been to a Patriot game live, and we had season tickets for 10 years, but that was in the 80s, where I could go to an entire season what it costs to go to one game now. 10 games, by the way, because you had to buy the preseason games. So we're looking at doing something like that, Paul. Yeah, I know you're too far away, but we're going to have a little get-together here soon with the local guys who follow the show, Rick and Kenny and Giroux and Mark Robertshaw, whoever else is nearby. I'm probably missing somebody. Steve Orpello, you're certainly welcome to come. Rick's in Philly this weekend for a wedding. Hopefully the 76ers are limited by then. Hopefully. Blessed Sunday, birthday anniversaries. You too, CA. Have a great day. We're going to wrap it up here pretty quick. What sport should we attend and where? Patriots? I got to start wrapping it up here. Let me put a little music underneath me just to give you guys a hint. Hopefully you still hear me okay. Keith, you're having a housewarming party. Where's my invite? Must have gotten lost in the mail. Rick is the guy handling the invites, apparently. I haven't even told my wife about this, so it's going to be trouble. Baseball or football? I was thinking more of the National Cornhole Championships out in Vegas. The home won't let us out too often. I got to be back for my Jello at night. Oh my God, because I think there's something in my Jello. Oh my God, that would be great. Oats. From where do you all here? We're in upstate New York here, so me and Danby. Ooh, Fuller. Oh, Danny. We had a great bowling center here, Bob Dobney, for years. Still waiting on a Army West Point game. Maybe we can make that our point of entry. Maybe we fly these. We don't fly then. You guys fly in. We'll go to West Point game. You can fly into, I think, in Newburgh, which isn't far from West Point. See Rick about the invites. There are no invites. Vegas got. I was joking, by the way. Oh, good stuff. Army versus Navy. Scott Kobe's not that far away. We could go to Army Navy too, depending on where they're playing that given year. I miss them playing in Philadelphia. I don't know why. But. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Keith Engle, thanks for Jimmy. Thanks for participating as well as you have. Thanks to Jim Biringer from FullPressHockey.com and all the other outlets he talked about. We'll be back on Wednesday, I believe, for the college football huddle. I guess we'll go back to calling it that. We'll be on Thursday with some draft coverage on Northeast Streaming Sports, however that is going to be presented. And Friday, we will have Tim Worley for our one-on-one interview. Tim Worley, former Georgia Bulldog running back, 7th pick in the draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll have him on 9 a.m. Friday, one-on-one with Keith Engle. And we'll have the MLB update and everything else. So have a great one. Keith Engle, my number family in East Rochester. I go every year. Fisher College. I know where Fisher College is. We're about 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe away from Rochester. My math is right. Well, let us know when you're around, Danny. We'll try to do something. Guys, have a great Sunday. Got to get my wife out to dinner later. Bye-bye.